How do I get a food truck license in Maryland? What licenses are needed to start a food truck in Maryland? So welcome to Food Truck Freaks, YouTube's premier food truck entrepreneur channel. We have a lot of great info that we're going to be uploading. We are a brand new channel on YouTube. We are actually not new to YouTube. We have several other food entrepreneur channels. But this one specifically is dedicated to food trucks and helping you understand and navigate the permits, licenses, and promoting and building out food trucks and making it a success. So let's dive right into it. Let's get to the permits and licenses that you will need for Maryland. So now let's check this out. The one thing I wanted to cover really quick is that Maryland has a unique feature that a lot of states are now actually adopting, and they're starting and initiating for food trucks. And that's actually having a food truck dedicated to a specific commissary kitchen or a commercial kitchen, using it as a kind of a home base, if you will, for making sure that you've got all your ingredients set for the day, all the clean water, disposing all of the wastewater, cleaning out and sanitizing your food truck, having a central located kitchen in a sense for your food truck operations. And Maryland is no different to that. So the one thing you got to know about the base of operations, as they call it, it must be licensed food service facility. You got to have access to what's called potable water, okay? This is going to be fresh water for the day, and then, of course, the ability to clean out the dirty water after you've gone to an event, of course. You got to provide proper disposal of waste and sewage, provide for proper utensil washing, and, of course, anything that needs to be sanitized and clean. And lastly, provide appropriate storage for refrigerated or even your dry goods if you've got those as well. So those commissary kitchens will have that space set up if you either need a freezer, a refrigeration, or just dry storage, just shelving in a sense. You need to make sure that you have one dedicated for your food truck. Now let's go through the different types of permits and licenses. Now, number one, you're going to need to obtain a business license. Of course, to operate any business where you are exchanging goods for services for money, you actually need to make sure that you are legally licensed as a business. So in the city or county where you're at, make sure you've got the right business license and permit to establish your food truck. And that's kind of a no-brainer, but you need that in order to do anything else legally with your food truck. Next up, you need to apply with the IRS for what's known as an EIN. This is an employer identification number. It's, in a sense, kind of like a social security number for your business, because down the road, as you have employees, for tax purposes, you're going to need to make sure you have an EIN. So all of those taxes and wages and things that you're paying out can be tracked and taxed and correctly accounted for. Now, also, speak with your accountant about that in regards to your EIN, and they'll definitely tell you that you've got to get one and maybe even help you fill it out. It's actually free. You can do it on the IRS website, and in Maryland, you're definitely going to need that for your food truck. Next up is a driver's license, a valid driver's license. Now, you're probably thinking, well, Damien, that's a no-brainer. Of course, I need a valid driver's license. Well, the one thing you need to keep in mind is that as you employ people or you have additional workers on your food truck in Maryland, you got to make sure that they have a legal, valid driver's license. If they happen to be driving your truck one day and you are not actually at an event, or maybe you're having your crew work for you and you can't necessarily be there, you need to make sure your employees have valid licenses. If they happen to get into an accident, that's going to be on you and your business. Now, keep in mind, your food truck is obviously your entire business. So if you get the license revoked or if it gets impounded, even in extreme cases, your business is done. Make sure your employees have valid driver's license, okay, guys? And then make sure that as they drive, of course, be as safe as possible because they are driving your business. Next up, a seller's permit. So food truck owners in certain cities and counties actually need to apply for a seller's license or a seller's permit, which actually allows them to buy food and other ingredients at a wholesale price without actually paying taxes on it until you only complete the transaction with your customer. That is when you pay taxes, okay? So when you actually collect taxes and remit that to the state of Maryland or local city or county jurisdictions, make sure that the sales tax you collect is only once and that you're not paying it twice on the ingredients to produce your product. Something that a lot of food truck owners, when they first start, may not be aware of. Now, also, starting a food truck in Maryland, you need to have a food handler's permit. You need to make sure that in your city or county, if they require this, and most actually do, is it's going through a process, a certification process, like ServSafe in a sense. If you're preparing food, sanitizing equipment, storing food, making sure that it's at the right temperatures, etc., those courses were going to help you understand the food handling process. And in most of the time, your actual employees or additional help is going to need to have that certification as well in order so they understand how to prepare food and do it safely. And of course, you want to make sure you do that because as a food truck owner, that's on your shoulders. If you happen to be a sole proprietor, for instance, that's going to fall completely on you with your food truck. So you want to make sure the food is prepared properly, stored properly, and handled properly. Next up, health department. So you're obviously going to have an inspection by the health department of your food truck, and they're going to check and inspect everything from how you're cleaning and sanitizing things. The health department's going to look for how the food is stored, if it's cooked at the right temperature. Hand washing is making sure that that's taking place too. These are all protocols that are in place basically to make sure that people stay on top of how they prepare food and it can be safely consumed by the people who are eating it. Okay. Next up, and lastly, you want to make sure that in your city or counties, they're requiring a fire certificate, which encompasses basically a fire inspection. Now, most fire inspections, they're going to look for how your wiring is set up, your propane generators or gas generators, making sure that they are adequately and used properly. You have equipment, if they're ranges or cooking ovens that happen to have flame and they're not electric, obviously you're going to be using a lot of propane, making sure that they're functioning right and they're hooked up correctly. And this really is really important, especially if you're getting a used food truck and you happen to be building out the food truck, okay? If you're having it customized or brand new equipment installed, you need to make sure that it's put in properly 100%. And whoever's doing it, make sure that they have the right licenses and they've got experience. You might even want to go so far as to ask for resources and additional information from people that they've actually done business with, references for even. You want to make sure that you're getting somebody who knows what they are doing, especially when it comes to hooking up propane and gas, because you are going to be running the risk of something potentially happening if it's not done correctly at a local event. And some people, even your customers and patrons, might actually get hurt if it's not. So keep that in mind as well. Next up, you need to make sure that you get an LLC. Let me talk for a little bit about the difference between a sole proprietorship, a single owner business, and an LLC. Most sole proprietorships are actually going to have most, if not all, of that is going to be on your shoulders, all of the legal liability and such if you're a sole proprietor. As an LLC, you have the opportunity to create a business entity, which if you've got any legal situations or any financial things that come up with debt collectors and such, that's going to fall on the business, not on your shoulders personally. You could potentially personally lose your home, your possessions, and everything else if someone has to actually accidentally sues you because you had served them something, they got sick, and they incurred hospital bills. That's going to fall on your shoulders. Creating an LLC is going to eliminate most, if not all, of that liability actually from you personally, and having a food business insurance policy. Now, what kind of insurance do food trucks normally have? What's the cost of that? It could be anywhere from around $600 to $800 on the low end to about a $1,200 bill on the next end, on the high end. That's going to be roughly what it's costing for food truck insurance. We actually have some videos. I'll check to put the links down below this one for our insurance videos on food trucks. But make sure you have also the city or county may require a minimum type of coverage policy. Make sure that you've got that at least, if not additional insurance on top of that. You want to make sure that an LLC and insurance is in place, guys, because absorbing it as a sole proprietor is not a risk you really want to take on your own shoulders. So that pretty much wraps up the gist of it. We're going to have a link also down below the video directly to Maryland's website, the state of Maryland's, in regards to mobile food businesses, so you can look up even more additional resources. If you have any questions on starting your food truck business, or if this video was helpful, do give us a big thumbs up and definitely subscribe, because we are launching this channel, so we definitely appreciate all the subscribers we have. If you have a friend or family member who is looking to create a food truck business, let them know about our channel, because we are going to have a ton of great content. And I'll see you guys on our next video.